2x2, 7 rows deep, and rolling up to the start-finish line.
It looks like Azure going a little bit off track as the inside.
As they can. See, we're making an amazing dive into turn one, and electroshocks off. Eggful gets the move.
But MNU trying to take a move.
Big contact from 5 different punches.
Big incident with Snowdog, our leader.
As we head into turn row, it's a big crash. It's a big crash between the two title contenders.
Welcome everybody to the second round of the Simufur Prototype Challenge. We are now going to Fuji, where we're expecting a much wetter track than we had at Interlagos. Some wonderful racing last month. Well, last month, it was about 2 weeks ago. Does feel like there was maybe a month in between. We took that 1 week break for Confuzzled, but we're now back at Fuji for the second round. Everybody in the unrestricted LMP2 Suzuka. How do you feel about today's race?
Last race was a blast, but now we're in Fuji, and not only do we have Fuji Speedway, but it's also wet, so it's going to be much of a bigger challenge for these drivers, having to traverse through these pouring conditions. You can see those LMP2s sliding a little, trying to get as much grip in the slippery track as you see one of the cars. So that's I believe is Philip Beckevold, if I'm right. Yes, that's Philip Beckevold, who's currently leading the standings so far in free practice. But I feel like this rain is going to play a big factor to the drama that we'll experience later on in the race.
Absolutely, the rain will be a big factor in what is the sequel to R Factor 2. We're running in LMU, of course, with the ELMS version of the LMP2s, as we see Fabio Sul coming around what I believe is the first corner at the moment. It's going to be the longest straight. Philip Beckevold has gone off at the first corner just behind them. Luckily for them, this is just the practice. If you're going to be making mistakes, you want to make them in practice, where you can just keep going.
Drivers are just trying to find the limit right now in free practice, where they have the luxury to make all those mistakes, you know, just to get the most out of these race cars in such torrentious conditions, because we're going to be here for 80 minutes, and that's going to play a huge role. It's going to be a test of all these drivers' endurance, not only because, I mean, it's much more worse than Interlagos, where it's dry, because we're facing the wet. This is going to be very challenging conditions, as you see the likes of Alexander van der Wood, who unfortunately demoted to P3 after an incident with Adeline, but I feel like van der Wood will want to come back after all of that.
Alexander van der Wood getting a wonderful first race. They were finishing in second place. They were hit by a penalty due to an incident caused in that first race at Interlagos, which means they were dropped down to third in the standings. But I'm sure, even with that in mind, a podium for them in the first round is very satisfactory, and they'll be looking to get more of that today.
Yeah, and here's one of our front runners here, Luis Adeline. We do have quite the competition ahead in the front pack, with the likes of Beckevold, Robbie Kelly, Luis Adeline, and Adrian Newt, who didn't have the best of rounds last race, but Newt seems to be in form so far, according to the timing sheets.
Looking very competitive so far. I'm sure they'll be looking to get a better result than they did last round as well. as we can still see Louise Adeline setting what looks to be a fairly fast lap. The usual names are at the top at the moment, although, of course, with this being practice, we don't know if any of them are doing quali practice right now or they're doing their race runs. Qualifying could be a different thing entirely. You can see the spray coming out of that car, and that did look like a slightly unsettled moment as they come into the final section of this course. That was definitely a bit of a slide. We're going to be seeing a bunch of Tokyo Drift Ridge Racer moments around this track, I believe, which makes sense as it is in Japan.
Yeah, and speaking of Japan, I mean, with the release of Forza Horizon 6, I'm pretty sure a lot of these drivers have been very preoccupied with this new racing game. I mean, everywhere I went, everyone was hooked on Forza Horizon 6, and I kind of hope that this does not distract from all the practice that they're putting on in the Fuji race. But it's very funny how we have a Japanese race day during the release of Forza Horizon 6, which of course takes place in Japan, and there is Philip Beckevold in a spinner. Not something you want to do in the race, but thankfully it's free practice.
We are reaching the end of free practice now. The time is at 0 minutes and 0 seconds remaining. We are going to be having a qualifying session starting very shortly. I have been hearing from some drivers that there are two factors as to why they might not have enough practice for this race. It are factor two. That is the factor of it being having been way too warm for a lot of people this week. Everybody being sat in front of fans and aircons, bit too warm to really sim race. And of course, Forza Horizon 6, keeping most of them with a controller. Anyway, apparently Sarah Van Veepelen and Nicholas Zan have already been given stop-go penalties for speeding through the pit lane as everybody is coming out for the 20 minutes of qualifying. Now, drivers looking to get themselves a nice window to set those laps, especially with any potential water spray we might have. The track being slightly wet, everybody will want as big of a window as possible. Is that a strategy I saw from Free Cars? They're all going off into turn one?
I don't think so. I mean, the conditions are... It's not as wet as free practice because there's not a lot of spray, but I feel like a lot of people are going to get distracted by, especially that pit exit into turn one. I've tried it. It's very tricky to get your braking zone right and to get the car rotating on that tight hairpin. So I feel like that's just driver error most of the part, but who knows?
Yeah, the track not looking quite as wet as it was in practice, but still wet. I'm not as much of an LMU aficionado as some drivers here, so I'm not sure if this is the time where you'd want to consider slicks. Maybe not. I think everybody is on the wet tyre from what I can see, but people are coming around on their outlaps trying to get themselves, well, it looks like maybe trying to get themselves a nice window. While Fuji Speedway does have one of the longest straights we have on the calendar, I think it is the longest straight on the calendar. I'm not sure if you really want to be getting, not sure if the slipstream's worth it for all that dirty air coming out the later corners, as we do have Katie on camera now looking to start their first flying lap.
Go around Fuji Speedway with the TGR LMP2 car of Katie Fox as we head into Fuji Speedway. It's going to be a hard braking zone into turn one. Really tight hairpin. You really get that car planted and pointed as you head off into turn two. A slight bend there, and then you dab on the brakes for turn three, which is a pretty tricky kink. You gotta get that apex right and get that exit really swinging as you go around turns 4 and 5. It's a long right-hander as you have to accelerate in hard braking again into turn 6 and come out of 7 as we accelerate off into turn 8, which isn't really a turn at all, but so is turn 9. This is actually another straightaway as we do another hard braking zone into turn 10, into 11 and 12. This chicane bit's gonna be very tricky in these LMP2 cars, especially in the wet conditions, as Katie puts down the power, daps on the brakes for turn 13. This is going to be really tricky, especially because she's got another car in front of her as we go into turn 14 and 15. Another corner you have to be really easy with. Just align your car for a great exit and then put down the power and then brake again for turn 16. Again, lining up the exit, and Katie dives into another driver. But Katie still on the lap, pulling off the power, and that will be the lap around Fuji Speedway.
I'm sure she'll be a bit frustrated with having been stuck behind a car ahead. It did look like there wouldn't have been much advantage from the slipstream there. Nicholas Zahn sets the pace for the first lap coming across, but Robbie Kelly has already taken that. Robbie Kelly, the winner of the first round, has taken provisional pole this first lap around. Luis Adeline in second place. Eduardo Alvarez. Philip Beckervold has just come in and beaten that as well. We are now into the 39s. Rafael Rodriguez, the next car coming across. Of course, everybody's setting their first laps now, and we've still got plenty of time to go. Will there be more of a dry line developing? Will people find a better window to set their laps? And I can't leave the fact that I was told not to make too many jokes on this stream, and yet Suzuka still got in that 6-7.
Oh well, but yes, Rafael Rodriguez of the newly formed Crazy K9 Motorsport team taking provisional pole in this race, as we see a lot of these drivers trying to get out of the way as much as possible because there's a lot of traffic coming in and out. As we see Alexander van der Wood coming into P2 by about almost 2/10 of a second. Not close but not quite for the number 38 TGR car, as Van der Wood goes on for another lap, and as these drivers are continuing on with their qualifying.
I can expect the times will start to come down as that dry line develops, but Alexander van der Wood can still be very proud of their pace, being up there with the names in Simufur that we would typically expect to be seeing at the top. They must be very happy with that right now. Rafael Rodriguez, as it stands, does still hold that top spot by about 1.5 tenths. Robbie Kelly has come in and taken that P2 position in the LMP2, but that is 1.5 tenths away. Alexander van der Wood. More laps coming in now. That is Beckervold. We are now into the 38s. That dry line definitely is coming in, and we are seeing the times tumble.
This track evolution is playing a huge part in this qualifying session. It's not, I don't think it's dripping out there, so the track is just drying and drying, and as these drivers continue to put on their laps, there's going to be a dry line forming around this racetrack. So the more these drivers run, the more grip that they'll find, and the more those lap times will tumble down, as we see with Philip Beckervold, who set a stonking lap time way ahead of the field. In fact, in front of Rodriguez by almost half a second.
Definitely a big gap for now. The pressure is going to be on for all of our drivers as that track gets drier. They cannot afford to set a banker lap and then leave it there. They are going to have to keep going out and keep setting those fastest laps. As the track is continuing to get drier, I do still wonder if someone's going to be able to go take a risk and go for dry tyres around the dry line and see if that will be worth it. But that is a big risk when we only have 13 minutes left. We're already about 7 minutes into this qualifying session. Philip Beckervold still holds it by half a second. Van der Wood are 7 tenths behind. Rafael Rodriguez 7 tenths behind. Robbie Kelly does get in another lap, but they're still only in P3. That gap between P3 and P5 is barely there, though.
Well, at the moment, according to my radar, everyone is on the wet tire, so nobody jumping the gun yet on slicks. So it feels like that slick tire is still the optimal tire around this track because it's still drying. It's not dry enough to guarantee pace and slicks, but this track evolution is going to be very, very prominent. I mean, 12 minutes remaining into the session. There's going to be a lot of time for drivers to make that track as dry as possible. So I feel like slicks might be the option in the dying minutes, but I mean, there's only one way to find out. We got to go through the qualifying session.
Yeah, they could definitely be seen as a bit of a Hail Mary near the end if drivers think they can't get any other chance of improving their lap time else. where. The times don't seem to be coming down just yet. Sarah Van Fiepland, as we can see on the screen now, is going to be crossing the line in a moment. Is it an improvement for her? It looks like it will be. No, it's not. They were slightly faster in Sector 1. They unfortunately lost it in Sector 3. I think they did come across a bit of traffic, unfortunately. So it's still Becca Vold, Rodriguez, Wood, Roop, and Robbie Kelly as our top 5.
Yeah, the usual suspects in our top 5, the likes of Beckvold, Rodriguez, Wood, Rotsniainen, and Kelly, putting on the pressure for the rest of the field to get on top in this qualifying session. I'm surprised to see the likes of Adelie not there quite yet, but we'll know later on. But at the moment, I feel like it's going to be our usual fight with these guys.
Absolutely, as some drivers are coming into the pits now, they might be trying some fresh tyres, they might be just coming in to refuel, they may have gone for some incredibly short fuel runs. 11 minutes to go, and it doesn't look like anybody's on a major improvement right now. Beckavold has absolutely staked their claim with that 38.9.
Yeah, I don't think anyone so far is ready to topple that time in their current conditions, because I think they just have to swap to a new pair of wet tires to get the most out of that car, to get the advantage on their lap times, because at the moment these tires are pretty worn. They're just begging to not be used anymore, as you see the likes of Rodriguez trying to set another lap time to beat Beckvold off in this pole position.
Unfortunately, they were 3/10 off their best time in Sector 1, so it looks like this might not be the lap, but they could still be getting those tyres up to temperature if they've put some fresh ones on. They could be going for that. This lap definitely isn't the one. I don't think the track's gotten any wetter, but it definitely doesn't seem to be getting any drier at this point either. There's still quite a lot of spray coming around those corners, so I definitely think wets are going to be where we stay. The track temperature seems to have dropped slightly more. The track has gotten wetter, so this may be all we see from qualifying if it is continuing to get wet.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the rain, yeah, as you mentioned, the rain is getting bigger and bigger, and you can see it from the spray. I don't think anyone is going to get a personal best at this point, so it looks like it's Beckavold on pole position, but I feel like these drivers are still trying to see what they can do in these conditions. As Vanderwood, that was very loose coming off the chicane and having to resort to going to the escape road. Unfortunate for them, but I just don't think anyone can beat their personal best at this point. I feel like the grid is locked in so far, because the rain is just getting stronger at this point. As we see Fezfox, who I believe, yeah, Fezfox definitely pulling in, and I think it's game, set, match.
Game, set, match for sure. Beckavold must have had a mix of picking the right time to go out on the track and also nailing it with that chance that they got. We don't expect to see much improvement on some times now. Some drivers are now getting in their initial lap, so almost everybody has set a lap at this point. Robbie Kelly will probably be a bit disappointed to be starting in P5, but of course this is only part 1 of the event today. The race could bring anything, especially if we've got a whole line of LMP2 cars without their ABS, in wet conditions, running down to that first hairpin.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be very interesting coming into turn 1, and I feel like the likes of RK, they might have a comeback in this race, because these are conditions where not a lot of them could make the most out of very changing conditions. Some of their lap times are done in worse conditions, some of them are in better conditions, but in the race, everyone faces the same conditions throughout their campaign, so I feel like that's going to be a bigger story to the picture here.
Yeah, I think that at this point the session is probably more of an extended practice for people, just for people to get that last bit of extra practice in the wet conditions. We do expect the race to be wet as well, but we're not sure quite how wet until everybody is out on that track. With this wide range of LMP2 cars we have on the grid, Suzuka, which LMP2 is your favourite?
Hmm. I don't want to sound biased, but the TGR cars have been looking absolutely beautiful. I mean, you got the pink, especially the pink LP2 of Alexander Van der Wood. The color just really pops out there.
The designs are nice on the cars for sure. I was thinking that my favourite LMP2 was the Orica LMP2, but
Oh,
you
you're
do
talking
make a good point there. There is one
okay.
car. There is one car stopped on the track there, but they have just come back to the pits. That does look like another one of the TGR cars. TGR doing an incredibly good job of their liveries, color coordinating them, but keeping them in that design that you know that they are with that team for sure. We see Soft Dragon trying for a lap now, but they have just spun, which is a bit of a disappointment for them. They are, of course, in the Spike liveried Dragon LMP2. They were up on that lap, but managed to lose it as well. As we saw, the number 43 in the background has lost it as well, Fabio Sol, and they've unfortunately reversed into the wall as well. Again, at this point, with qualifying being an extended practice for most people, it's probably the best time to do it. Better now than the race.
Yeah, I did not realize we were talking about manufacturers, but I would say the Orica is like my favorite LMP2. I mean, it's really good looking. It's just a shame that we are stuck with the Dallara on iRacing, because the Orica is such a looker.
It's definitely a bit timeless at this point as well, I think. They've been running it for how long?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it is for quite a while. The Orica 07 being a mainstay of endurance racing for quite some time, and for very good reason. Everybody has picked an Orica for this LMP2 series, as you can see. Maybe there needs to be a bop in place for it. We do have 4 minutes and 40 seconds remaining, as we see Philip Beckervold coming around, probably just again doing those practice laps. They aren't getting any faster times. If anything, they are down a second per sector. The track really having lost any potential grip that it didn't have in the first place.
I do want to point out the Orca 07 is actually the only LMP2 you can race here in Le Mans Ultimate, because it's been a long standing car. It's been the only LMP2 car in the field as far as I'm aware, because the other non-Orca manufacturer I remember was Ligier, but that was back in IMSA. But oh my goodness, look at all that spray. No one is definitely getting in better conditions in these better time in these conditions, because the rain is absolutely torrential right now compared to the very start of our qualifying session.
A lot of cars coming off into the heavy braking zones, this being one of the second heaviest braking zone on the track. I just saw 2 cars there, one of them span off. That is the second place driver of Rafael Rodriguez, with 3 minutes and 20 left to go. The track is only getting wetter. It's a good opportunity for the drivers to get that practice in for the race, deal with having the spray in front of them, as they will have to do that when all 27 of our LMP2s take the race start. I'm glad it's them, not me, quite honestly.
I'm glad I'm glad I'm in the dry commentary mood as well. I mean, 18 minutes of this, I can't imagine doing that just yet. I mean, I've been doing some laps in LMU with these guys. I've been practicing with the LMP2 car, and I gotta say, it's a pretty fun car, but the conditions, absolutely horrible. As we see, Sarah Embers unfortunately beaching themselves, but I don't think you can beach yourself in LMU, but I think Sarah just got into a spinner and trying to get back on track as soon as possible.
drivers may still be testing those limits at the moment, or we could potentially be seeing this happening in the race as well. I do recall Sarah making the comment in our Simufur Discord that in some of these corners in the wet, putting down the throttle is like rolling a D20 for grip, which I thought was quite a good comment. We will see how much that happens in the race. Speaking of the Simufur Discord, if you are watching this race and thinking, I'd love to get involved with some of this, Simufur has been a long-running sim racing community for all furries. We do welcome all skill levels. We'd love to see you come join us sometime.
I mean, Sarah's just she hit the nail on the head. That's a perfect analogy because the grip here is really unpredictable. Like, you don't know when you're gonna spin or you're gonna point the right way because the rate is just horrid at this point. Because look at that, look at the spray coming off of Rafael Rodriguez, our current front row sitter, alongside Philip Beckevold, as we have about a minute remaining in this. At this point, let's just call it an impromptu free practice session because no one's getting a better lap time than this.
Speaking of free practice, it looks like they're going for a slow rolling. Is that a practice rolling start? I think it might be, as they're going down into the first corner to see how that's going to handle, assuming the track is at 60% wetness. We do have another car off there. That is the 99 of Demi Smileface. So we do have at least 2 Spike LMP2s running around our track today. Of course, Sosh Dragon fittingly is driving the other one. I do like the Spike livery card. I'm surprised that whoever owns Spyro right now didn't try to go for some copyright infringement on the livery, but I'm glad they haven't.
Yeah, the AO Spike the Dragon livery, a very iconic livery. I mean, AO Racing have been making very iconic racing liveries. You remember Rexy, their Porsche GTE turned into GT3, I believe, and ever since they've been making very lovable race cars. I mean, sorry to veer off topic, everyone, because we don't have much to talk, because this qualifying session is pretty much over.
The timer has reached 0 minutes and 0 seconds remaining. That will be everybody on their final lap for qualifying if they aren't sat in the pits already. I do only see a few cars still out. That is Philip Beckevold running some victory laps and or practice laps as they run their qualifying. An excellently well put together job from them for qualifying. They got the lap in, they strategized it right, and there was a bit of luck likely involved as well.
Yeah, qualifying, it's a lot about luck, especially in changing conditions like this, because I think only a few drivers can get those optimal conditions on their hot lap, and Philip Beckevold here got the best conditions and proved their driving amidst these conditions, and that's just a very deserving pole position for sure.
Absolutely. We see them coming across the line now, and I do think there is then only one more car on track. I think I can see that Sarah Emberson is still running, and then we will be getting on with the 80-minute race as soon as that is finished. No, that is everybody coming into the pits now. Philip Beckevold is bringing their LMP2 in. That is pole position Philip Beckevold. Rafael Rodriguez half a second away, but of course that is just the qualifying. And as we've seen many times before, anything could happen, especially at the start of this race. Do you think anyone has a good chance of toppling Beckevold going into that first corner?
Honestly, I feel like Robbie Kelly might have a chance. I mean, they're all the way down in P5, but I still think Robbie Kelly kind of has a chance to battle at the front. But so far, advantage goes to Philip Beckevold to drive off the line, not experience that spray, and just get a clean lap. But I mean, it's wet Fuji. Everyone's gonna be braking hard into turn 1, so we're about to see some drama for sure.
Absolutely, and it looks like cars are getting prepared for the race now, so they will be getting themselves put in place. I'm not sure if that's my eyes deceiving me. The track actually looks like it might be dry, or at least nowhere near as wet. Okay, 12%. We are at 12% wetness. That is considerably less than it was
Lord.
before. There is no rain from what I can see, so the track will be getting drier. This is a chance for drivers to come in and maybe get some slick tyres on, as we have the grid. Philip Beckervold in pole position, Rafael Rodriguez in second on the first row. Second row, Alexander van der Wood and Roop Rantian. Third row, Robbie Kelly, Sarah Van Fiepland. Fourth row, Louise Adeline and Fez Fox. Fifth row, Eduardo Alvarez and Absolute Luck. 11th place, Katie Fox. In 12th place, Adrian Newt, looking to gain some positions in the race. In 13th, we have Nicholas Zahn. And in 14th, we have Parker Olsen. C Charter is in P15 and Phil Rank in 16th. Fury April in 17th. And 18th is Demi Smileface. 19th, Sarah Emberson. 20th is Christian Clippert. 21st, Zul Akihara, and in 22nd is Sosh Dragon. 23rd, Bleed Wolf Keiki Kayo, and in 24th, Fabio Saul. 25th, Michael Ravenloft. 26th is Daniel Falzetta. And in 27th, last but not least, is Proto Nuttogen.
Got quite a stacked grid today. We got, I mean, of course, a lot of drivers showing up, especially since Interlagos. I do want to point out that what I'm seeing in my spectator mode, it's not as bright and sunny as what the cameras are showing, so it could be a bit of variation, but I feel like everyone's on the wet tires, so I feel like everyone's committing to the strategy that the track's still wet, it's still slippery, and we're about to have some slipping and sliding, baby.
Track is still slightly wet as the drivers come around. I do believe everybody will be on the wet tyres, but we'll see if it gets drier or it gets wetter. Formation is already coming around the final corner. I see the first 3 rows there, as the other rows behind will be trying to catch up and getting as good a position as possible. Some of those drivers will want to be careful. Compared to our previous series in ACC, these cars do not ghost for each other during the formation, so they'll want to make sure that they're avoiding collisions there, and they do seem to be doing that very well. We are about to get onto green conditions for 80 minutes of wet Fuji Speedway. Will it get wetter? Will it get drier? How will the drivers adapt to all of that? We just have a few more moments of tension. Everybody looks like they're in a good place for their start. There's been penalties given as it lights goes green. Fez Fox, Sosh and Louise Adeline being given penalties already to start with for their positions. On the start, we are going green. Beckervold has got a good line through. Good running.
They're all
Are they going
wide!
deep though? That's Alexander
Everyone's
van der Wood
wide!
taking the lead.
That's Van der Wood in the way. Van der Wood takes the lead off in turn 1, and we got a lot of drivers going off into turn 1. The conditions still very tricky as these drivers try to warm up their tires to get up to conditions, but at the moment Van der Wood was able to pounce and steal the lead from Philip Beckervold.
We'll see how long that lasts. Van der Wood having been doing an excellent job in the LMP2 so far. Now they have taken the lead. They want to be doing all they can to hold that. They're already getting a bit of a gap on the cars behind. Beckervold does have some slipstream at this point. Rodriguez seems to have dropped to second. Back already as we drop a bit further down through the grid. People are making positions going on. There's already
there's a spinner!
heavy braking zone. 24 into the back of 69. 236 is off there as well. And there's 3 wide coming out of there. Already a bit of contact here and there. Hopefully not too much damage for our drivers. I do see 2 more cars off in the background. That hairpin right there seems to be treacherous for a lot of our drivers. Van der Wood has gotten away well, though. They do have the lead on this lap, but Beckervold now does have quite a nice bit of slipstream, 7 tenths behind going into the first corner. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to get a run on this lap, but if they can keep themselves in that position, that will be a great run for them.
The moment. Vanderwood keeping that lead, nice. But Robbie Kelly coming up the rear end of Rodriguez, trying to get a peak and trying to move up to P3. But at the moment, Robbie Kelly still has to sneak up in behind and stay behind the toe, trying to find a vantage point of Rafael Rodriguez, trying to find moments where they'll snap, moments where they'll crack, and there's a spinner, there's another spinner, and unfortunately, I believe that is Sarah Embers pointing the wrong way around, but quickly getting that car back, pointing the right way around, and it's just, I feel like it's just spinning under braking. It's just something that these cars tend to do. Like, they're pretty unpredictable, especially in what I believe are slightly dry conditions, and that is Robbie Kelly wrapping around the outside. Can they do it around the chicane? The number 25 TGR car holds the outside line off of Rodriguez and gets the move done. That's Robbie Kelly up in the podium position.
We did expect Robbie Kelly to be racy at the start, and they have already gained 2 spaces since the beginning of the race. Rafael Rodriguez having dropped a couple of places now to P4. They'll be looking to get that back as we go down to the straight. That is Sarah Van Veepelen chasing them as well, though, looking to get a free car battle coming down the straight. Van der Woede does seem to have pulled away, actually, a couple of attempts from Beckervold this lap, so Van der Woede actually may be setting the pace in a way that they'll be able to get away with this. They have just set the fastest lap of the race so far. No, that is Van Veepelen on Rodriguez, and they're going for looking for a move on the outside. Rodriguez does have the inside, so if they can get that braking in and shut the door on them, that will be safe for them this lap, and they have done exactly that. Van Veepelen not able to find a way through just yet. We'll be getting into another braking zone shortly, and there could be another move there to go. Again, these LMP2s don't have ABS. We do have a slightly wet track. I do think where the rain isn't coming just yet, it's going to be getting drier. Those tyres might be getting quite warm. Nice dive from Van Veepelen, but it's not quite enough, although we are about to go down into the second heaviest braking zone. We've seen a lot of cars spin here. Could Rodriguez spin again under the pressure? At this point, coming in now, it does look safe for the time being. Very slightly loose on the rear from Rodriguez, but nothing too much to worry about. Everybody driving with each other with the best respect as they can. Eduardo Alvarez has just overtaken Parker Olsen in the background as well. Louise Adeline seems to have had a very unfortunate start and is dropped back to P22, looking to get some of those spaces back as soon as possible.
I think Adeline was one of those drivers that got a drive-through penalty for, I believe, a false start, but I did want to mention as well Rafael Rodriguez looking like a sitting duck. I mean, as we have fighting here with Adeline, Fazetta, and Fez Fox, these drivers, I feel like these 3 are the ones that got drive-through penalties, but I feel like Adeline is the one that is getting advantage and getting through, because Fazetta and Fox still dueling it out. Fox, I think, giving this position back to Fazetta to try and fight another time, but Adeline took advantage of that and got past the 2 of them.
Great moves from Adeline there. Fez Fox in that wonderful Simufur livery at the back for now. We see Phil Renk racing with Blade Wolf Keigi Kayo. Blade Wolf Keigi Kayo being the last Simufur GT3 silver champion, being moved up to the LMP2s now. They've got the slipstream on Phil Renk. We'll see if they can get the move done there. Beckervold has taken the fastest lap since we last looked as well, and they have gained a bit of time on Alexander Van der Woede. Van der Woede may just be settling in and seeing if they can hold it until we get into any sort of pit stop cycle. That is an overtake from Rautinen on Adrian Newt. So that is Newt dropping down another place for now. A lot of action to be seen around as it is, and some of it just looks like from the smallest slips.
At the moment, I don't think there's going to be any rain coming, but who knows? I don't have a weather radar with me, but I think it might be about time. If these weather conditions continue, I feel like it's about time that these drivers think about pitting for the soft tire, but at the moment, I feel like it might be more rain according to what I'm just recently discovering on my data, but who knows? It's just unpredictable out there at the moment.
Yeah, we are expecting that some rain will occur in the race at some point. This is coming back to the battle for the lead. Van der Woerder is still in the lead, but Beckervold has closed the gap on them. Beckervold having the fastest lap of the race. They are down to 3 tenths. Beckervold showing that they do still have the pace, even when everybody is racing in those same conditions. There's not going to be a move here just yet, but if they can get a good run out of here against Van der Woerder, use that slipstream, see if you can outbrake Van der Woerder going into, again, our second lovely hairpin before the final sector. Does look like they're dropping a bit of time there. Van der Woerder actually proving themselves very good on the brakes. That may have been how they just got the edge in that first corner, as the gap is slightly increasing coming through this final sector. It could be something everybody is, of course, in the Orica LMP2. This could be down to just driver tactics. This could be down to potential setup differences.
I feel like a lot of people had different interpretations to survive the apparent conditions, but at the moment, in these dry conditions, it feels like Van der Woerder kind of has an advantage, but Beckervold is kind of on pace. Meanwhile, Robbie Kelly is still not yet catching up. In fact, they are just 1.4 seconds as we see. I believe that is Chris Clippert, unfortunately, going off track and getting back on track as soon as possible. So, not a good day for Christian Clippert.
Very unfortunate for the TGR driver there. We now see Newt racing with Alvarez. Car 69 has got the inside there. Newt having gone a bit wide, and it does look like that the run is there. They have made the move for now. Newt will have to settle into P8 and see if they can get that back later on.
And that's right. That's a spin from Reg. I believe that is turn 1. So I feel like a lot of these drivers are kind of losing out in these conditions. I think Rank might have lost another braking. Yep, I am right. That is Savior Rank locking those brakes and turning around a full 180.
Fortunate for them, we have been seeing a lot of spins going into the heavier braking zones. This is another one of those. While the track wetness does seem to be the same as it was before, there is definitely a dry line in place, as we see places where there's no spray coming off those cars at all, and in other places there is. Beckervold does seem to be slightly closer here. Is that another instant we see behind? It is
that's
another
Rotiainen.
spun car.
That's Rupi Rotiainen, the number 935 TGR car. I wonder what happened out there, but at the moment, yeah, that's just not good for Rotiainen. Let's see here what happened to them. It could be a spin. It might be a spin on its own. Yep, that's just a really unfortunate circumstance in these unpredictable conditions.
Yeah, we are seeing a lot of cars spinning on their own in the braking zones. Here, the brakes on those LMP2s really not being fun in wet conditions. I don't like them in dry conditions myself, as we do see Nicholas Zahn looking for a move on Parker Olsen here. It looks like Zahn might have the pace, but Olsen can just keep that car in the right place and keep them behind. Won't be braking too much for this corner here with the downforce you get in the LMP2s. Coming around the long sweeper of 100R here, and then coming into one of our braking zones, where hopefully we won't see any spins this time. Everybody does seem to have kept the car this time around in the right place. The pace is there for Parker Olsen, though. They do seem to be pulling away, actually. I am mistaken.
Yeah, we're almost getting complete the first 20 minutes of our race, so I feel like everyone is just settling at the moment, trying to get their fuel numbers right, trying to get the most out of these cars. But I mean, the radar still says like there's impending rain, but I'm not sure about that. I feel like it could be. It might be that the conditions, it's just really unpredictable. I think reading this radar, I think it might get less wet, but who knows? I feel like But at the moment, I feel like it's a good opportunity for some of these drivers to jump on a medium tire to see how it feels. But again, these drivers just playing the safe route. I feel like these wet tires are still serving them well in the greasy conditions of this racetrack.
Absolutely, and of course drivers will want to be minimizing the amount of pit stops they take. As we are running in wet conditions, there is no need to change tires potentially. However, drivers will still need to make a pit stop, as they definitely will not have enough fuel for a full 80-minute race. That is Fabio Sol going on the inside of Alcara, going for the switchback, coming out of that hairpin. It's anyone's game for now, but it does look like the yellow and green car does have the slightly better run coming out of there, as they do hold that position. Car 529 has come off.
That's Ravenloft.
Is Ravenloft. That is Ravenloft.
Unfortunate for Wolf and Ravenloft. I feel like it's another rear locking into turn 1. As we head alongside another spike car. Yep, and that's the usual suspect taking a lot of people in this race. And unfortunately, Ravenloft hits another driver for good measure, but Ravenloft getting back on track. Hopefully that did not cause rear end damage. And speaking of, I think Robbie Kelly is closing in on Philip Beckevold, so I think Kelly's just taking their time, trying to get their tires as dry as possible, and that's just doing them good, because at the moment they're much closer now to Philip Beckevold, who is being pulled away by Alexander Vanderwood, who is just pulling a lot of lap time on them.
Vanderwood seems to be keeping a decent gap on Beckevold. That is car 24 off, which is Charter, one of our sharks, unfortunately struggling even in the wet conditions at Fuji, as it looks like it might have been enough spin on their own. They rolled that D20, and unfortunately it came out a 1 for them on this time. Or maybe at least a 2, as they didn't hit the wall. Robbie Kelly really has closed in on the lead 2 drivers, though. Rafael Rodriguez did get the fastest lap last lap, but it does seem that they've lost a bit to Robbie Kelly here. May have gotten stuck behind them in a corner they didn't want to. Sarah Van Fiepland is looking to capitalise, and will be trying to get that draft on them coming into the final corner. Beckevold is still in second place, closing in on Van der Wood, because he knows Robbie Kelly is knocking on the door, looking to take that place. Van der Wood is going to be hoping that Robbie Kelly and Beckevold can keep each other busy for a while, so he can hold on to that lead. The longer that Beckevold can fight Kelly, the longer Van der Wood doesn't have to worry about it, as long as he can keep that pace going. Robbie Kelly definitely is closer to Beckevold as they all come down the long start-finish straight. He will have more of a draft advantage than Beckevold has on Wood. It does look like there won't be enough to make a move this lap, but as we've seen, Kelly is definitely got the pace on the 2 drivers ahead. They're really close coming out of that hairpin now, so that move could be coming anytime soon.
Robbie Kelly knocking on the door of Philip Beckevold. It's at this point, it's just a matter of when Robbie Kelly might make the pass, because Robbie Kelly has got the pace. They just got to bide their time and wait for a moment for Philip Beckevold to crack and to find a gap on them, as Robbie Kelly tried to take a deeper line compared to Beckevold to try and get around. And is that absolute luck with the fastest lap? Let me check.
That looks like absolute luck with the fastest lap. Very well done job from them so far. Are they on? I believe they are still on the wet tyres. So that is an interesting surprise.
I have a feeling they might have hit for a fresh. Yeah, they have served the pit stop, so they definitely served a fresher set of wet tires, and that is Philip Beckevold for the lead. I think Vanderwood has gone wide. Yeah, Vanderwood there dropping down into P3, and I saw on my cameras it was Alexander Vanderwood going very wide. That just unfortunately cost them the lead of this race, just touching the curb. That's gonna unsettle the car for sure, and that's just tough luck.
Van der Wood was doing an incredible job to hold the lead for the first 20 minutes, 17 minutes of this race. Unfortunately, them hitting the curb and getting tram-lined a bit into going off has cost them 2 positions. And now Rafael Rodriguez, who has been setting fast laps behind them, will be the next to go for a move. Van der Wood will be hoping to get a second podium in a row if they can't get the race win, as Beckevold and Kelly seem to be driving off and having their own race as we all go through 100R. Now Van der Wood coming through another braking zone, definitely trying to avoid that curb after what happened with the curbs last time. These LMP2s are a little bit lower down than GT3s, and in these wet conditions, curbs are still definitely not going to be the thing you really want to be touching most of the time.
A part of me thinks that these tires are starting to go off because keep in mind, these are not the wettest conditions, so these wet tires are gonna go, they're gonna turn into slicks eventually, just like the Turkish Grand Prix back in 2020, those the so-called famous interslick tires. But at the moment, everyone's just staying out. Nobody in the front field yet jumping the gun. So I feel like this is the optimal strategy so far. And that's Alvarez with a rear wing gone. What happened? I think it was an incident down. I'm not sure what corner that is, but it was an incident for Alvarez.
They will have a little bit of extra straight line speed now they don't have their rear wing, but through the corners it is enough for them to want to come in and get that car fixed as soon as possible. Unfortunate for them, they seem to be doing a good job moving through the field, but they are going to have to come in to fix that damage now. Robbie Kelly, with Van der Wood no longer being the leader, is still chasing Beckevold. There is still a battle on our hands now, both of these drivers having incredible pace so far. Will Beckevold be able to hold Robbie Kelly's charge? They have gone wide, but it looks like that gives them enough to run out into our next braking zone that they will be safe for now, or not if Robbie Kelly goes for a move. No, they have slot in behind. They are going to take it safe for now. I expect that'll be another case where everybody just looks to survive through these few corners and goes for the move going down the straight into turn 1. Van der Wood and Rodriguez are still behind. The battle ahead, keeping them in the fight just about for now. Beckevold going slightly wide there, and Robbie Kelly not able to make a move on it coming through the final corner. This is where the slipstream will come in. This is where some of them may wish they had DRS or active aero, or they could take those rear wings off just for a moment to put them back on. But the rain has now come in. The rain has now come in. The track is back to slightly wet. Anybody that would have gone on slicks at this point is very much going to be kicking themselves. But those wet tyres that have gone through near slick conditions for at least 10 minutes now, they'll be wondering if those tyres will last for the rest of the race. Rodriguez does seem to have gotten a move on Van der Wood, but Van der Wood is still on the outside there. They've got the inside for the next corner, and they are keeping it for now. Great battle between these two as well for the top 4 positions. Van Fiepland is about 2 seconds back at the moment, and Adrian Newt has found themselves up into P6 again, though they are about 10 seconds back at this point. They will be able to make use of the fact that they've got clean track. Everyone ahead of them is fighting. They may still be able to get into the fight with an hour remaining of the race left. That is our title car. That is the Simufur car of 86. Fez Fox has unfortunately spun at the first corner. It doesn't look like it was from an incident. That looks like it was another unfortunate braking issue. Someone's coming off the track there as well. Fez Fox has been moved to the pits. Unfortunately, that may be another retirement for the Simufur 86 that nobody wanted to see. There is another spin coming off as well. Xavier Rank has come off the track, looks to have avoided any contact, but as the track is getting wetter, again, I think some drivers may not have been entirely prepared for it. Robbie Kelly is looking to get another move here. They don't look quite close enough to make that move happen through this first corner. You can see the dry line coming down that start-finish straight there, so you can see there'll be a difference in grip from people who are on the line and off the line, and there was no move gain to be made there as they're coming through. Those wet tyres do seem to be holding on for now.
Those tires lasting longer than I expected from what I remember. I feel like it would have been, as I'm
Robbie
going
got
to
the
interrupt
inside.
myself, that was Robbie Kelly on the inside of Philip Beckevold and getting the move done, but Philip Beckevold getting the over-under. Can Beckevold wrap around the outside and try to make a move down on the chicane, but it looks like Robbie Kelly defending the inside line. Lock up for the number 25 Tiggan car, and that's going to be very wide. I'm not sure that was a lockup. That could be spray coming off the other vehicle, but Philip Beckevold still trying to fight back, still trying to cling on to Robbie Kelly, and at the moment Robbie Kelly's at the lead, but for how long? Because Philip Beckevold is looking hungry to fight back.
Robbie Kelly does have the lead of the race now, looking to get a second win in a row, but that is Beckevold behind. We know Beckevold still has pace, and they will, coming out of this final corner, they're only 4 tenths behind. With the slipstream, that looks like it could be enough of a run. It looks like some of the cars might be coming slightly off of the dry line there, maybe to cool down their tyres. The track is getting wetter, but I can imagine those wet tyres, they've been running for a while now, and maybe still a bit overheated. That is the 935 of
Siainen.
Yeah, that is another TGR driver having come off, unfortunately, of Ruperutainen. They will be looking to get back in as soon as possible. Van der Wood is still ahead of Rodriguez, still holding on to that P3, still holding on to that bottom step of the podium, as Blade Wolf Keikikayo is another spinner off the track there. It looks like they might have dropped a place. They'll be trying to get that back soon as well. We are back to Rodriguez watching Van der Wood, looking to get Van der Wood into a mistake or just to get a better line out, a better exit out of there. I don't think they've got enough of a gap to make the move coming through here. Robbie Kelly does seem to be pulling away in the lead as well, so that will be him running as fast as he can to make sure he doesn't get the run on Beckevold. That is another Every time we see the leaders come through here at the moment, we see another LMP2 on the side. I've noticed Rodriguez really close to Van der Wood coming through here. If they can keep that gap through these last 2 corners, even with the little amount of dirty air, if they can keep that grip going, even with the spray, that's really close coming through here. And with that gap, Van der Wood is going to have a struggle keeping him behind with that draft, only 2 tenths behind.
Van der Wood, a sitting duck right now to Rafael Rodriguez as the track gets wetter and wetter. The rain is coming, and so is Rafael Rodriguez on the inside of Alex Van der Wood. Can they get the move done into turn 1? There's a lot of spray that will give them a disadvantage on the inside line, but Van der Wood wrapping around the outside, trying to defend, but it looks like Rodriguez tried to fight, but Van der Wood has a better exit, clinging around the outside. Excellent defending from the number 38 LMP2 car of Van der Wood as these guys are dueling. There's a little bit of contact between the two as they continue to fight. This battle is never going to end as Rodriguez desperately tries to find a way past Van der Wood, but it looks like it's going to be the inside for Rodriguez. Van der Wood closes it off, trying to hold on the outside, and it looks like Van der Wood got an advantage coming off that corner.
Some great side-by-side action there for this lap. That was side-by-side for almost, well, about half of the entire lap with LMP2 cars. That is some great action to be seeing. Van der Wood are doing an incredible job to keep them at bay for now. Cars are coming off everywhere at the moment as we see more and more spinning coming back to the fight. Rodriguez is right behind Van der Wood, and the gap is as close as it was before. Rodriguez may be going for a round 2 of that side-by-side fighting around this circuit in these LMP2s. it's all a bit precarious. There was a little bit of a wiggle coming out there that will lose them a little bit of their run. Van der Woerden might be able to breathe a sigh of relief. It does look like them losing a bit of exit speed has kept them safe for this lap at least. And I do have to say, this is where LMU's collision physics have very much helped us with racing. I've seen some of the collisions happening in this series so far would have resulted in absolute tears if we were still running an ACC. That is Parker Olsen having come off another TGR spin. Unfortunately, none of them are Tigers, but they are still spinning like Tigers. Van der Woerden is still holding on there. 529, that is Wolfin Ravenloft off the track for now. Again, they do manage to get back on. It does look like they don't have any damage coming through this part of the circuit. Again, Van der Woerden once again goes wide. It does look like it gives them the better exit, and they are able to use that to get down into the next braking zone. Once again, some wonderful battling from them.
Rafael Rodriguez looking very persistent right now on the rear end of Alexander Van Wood. The number 38 TGR car might have to lock in because Rodriguez just wants to get past. They are hounding on the rear end of that race car as they continue to sail through these wet conditions. It's just very treacherous out there right now, but Rodriguez, regardless, still making aggressive maneuvers, still trying to stick to the rear end and try to get a move done. And look at that, Rodriguez really aggressive under braking and trying to get past Van der Woerden. Van der Woerden is sitting duck right now to Rodriguez because look at the slipstream that they're getting, because Van der Woerden 3 seconds down the road as Rodriguez continues to tuck into the slipstream. Could it be a move into turn 1? Rodriguez, will he go inside? Will he go outside? It looks like Van der Woerden committing to the outside. Rodriguez going onto the inside line, going to dive into turn 1, but Van der Woerden wrapping around the outside, trying to get the wide line to get a better exit, but it looks like Rafael Rodriguez is through.
Yeah, Van der Woerden was looking to try and make the same moves as he did before, but unfortunately Rodriguez just got a better braking into turn 1 this time and was able to make the move stick. We'll see if Van der Woerden is able to get back at any point. They are about 3 seconds behind from Bekkervold, and Bekkervold has dropped to about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds behind Robbie Kelly. Robbie Kelly now setting the pace once more and looking to run off for their second win in the series. Parker Olsen and Luis Adeline racing each other at the moment. Coming into the first corner, it does look safe for Parker Olsen. Not enough of a gap there, but Luis Adeline, having had that drive through at the start, is doing an amazing job to get themselves back up. We've got another car, number 10 of Absolute Luck, having set the fastest lap of the race earlier on, as unfortunately just had another spin. For the amount of spins we have had in this race, we have only had 2 retirements so far. Unfortunately, those retirements are Sosh Dragon and Fez Fox.
Yeah, and I believe that is Luis Adeline finally getting past Parker Olsen and making up another position. She's on a charge right now, especially after that stop. I'm not sure if it's a stop and hold or a drive-through penalty, but regardless, Luis Adeline back in P10 and continuing to climb the field.
That is another spin from Wolfen Ravenloft. Just ahead, they do the right thing and hold their brakes while there's cars coming by. The other cars are able to get by just fine. That is car 46 of Nicholas Zahn coming off and dropping a position to Fury April. Fury April, having started right near the back of the pack, is doing an amazing job to be running in P7 right now. They have gained about 10 spaces so far. We do see Blade Wolf having come in for their pit stop. This may or may not have been a strategized pit stop for them, getting in some extra fuel, maybe a fresh set of tyres. And it does look like Van der Woerden has had a couple of issues. They have dropped back about 4.5 seconds from Rafael Rodriguez, just losing out on that podium for now, unless we have any more instants ahead. We are about to go to a replay to see what happened here. That is the car number
Sarah,
30. That was Sarah Emberson, unfortunately, and then Van der Woerden spinning just after that as well. It looks like they may have just dipped a bit too much into the grip that wasn't there.
I saw what you did there. Anyways, Fabio Sol here making up some ground, and as you mentioned, Fury April out of nowhere from the back of the pack. So is Fabio Sol from the mid pack. So as I was about to say, even if you qualified in the back or in the mid pack, this rain could see you battling at the forefront like the likes of Sol and Fury April.
We are seeing more cars coming into the pits now. With the amount of cars coming into the pits, it looks like these are the pit stops people are making to do their scheduled pit stops for the race. Van der Woede coming in now, previously leading the race, now looking to see maybe if they have a fresh set of tyres and more fuel, maybe their own window to set their own pace. If they can come back and get any of those positions to see if an undercut is gonna work here. We now see Nicholas Zahn and Fabio Saul chasing each other down the pit straight. Nobody's coming in for their pits just yet. It does look like Fabio is going to be going for the outside, seeing if they can do what Van der Woede did earlier in the race, but Nicholas Zahn is holding on to that inside. Looks like their braking is working, but Fabio Saul has a look on the inside, can't quite get it. Goes to the slipstream, tries the inside on turn 3, and they do have the run to make the move. So that is a great move from them, but coming into 100R, slightly less radians of degrees there. They are side by side, and Fabio Saul is able to hold that place for now, going a bit wide, going for the exit here, coming into the next braking zone. That looks like that move has been sealed at this point. A great move from them.
Yeah, very brilliant racing between the two drivers as the conditions continue to pour down on these drivers, because a lot of these drivers committing to an undercut at the moment, and it's only like 40 minutes remaining in this session, so I feel like this is more or less halfway in the session, so this could be the territory for scheduled pit stops.
Yeah, we're about 45 minutes remaining in the race. Drivers will be looking to pit now, some of them to get undercuts. Some of the other drivers will be staying out as long as they can to get the fresher rubber near the end. That is provided they do feel they need to change their tyres. Some drivers may be confident enough on the wets they started with to run them till the end. Robbie Kelly is now 3 seconds ahead from Beckervold, having been released from any cars behind them. You can see how wet the track is with the raindrops falling onto the puddle there. That is quite impressive from LMU's graphics, actually. Robbie Kelly is not on the same pace they were before, but that is to be expected with how much wetter you can see. Everything is now, they're just coming through the last few corners, and we'll see how long they can run for. They do still have 44% of their fuel remaining. Not sure if that would be enough for them to make it to the end. They will have to stop at some point. I think there may also be a mandated pit stop, if I'm not mistaken. One driver going wide there, that is Falzetta. Danielle Falzetta still in the race for now. Wolf and Ravenloft a few seconds ahead of them, having come wide as well. So many cars struggling to get any sort of grip in these conditions. That is Katie Fox racing Alvarez. Alvarez having got their car fixed, but Katie now looking to see if she can get a move down here. The gap is closing with that slipstream. Will it be enough to look for a move? Will they do the dance of looking for the inside? It looks like they're going to stay to the outside. No, they're going for the move now. And we're side by side going into turn 1. That's quite a shallow line, though, and there's contact between them. That has unfortunately spun Katie Fox around. That is unfortunate from both of them. I wouldn't want to be in the steward's office considering what that is right now, but the person making the move is the person who lost out there. We come to another replay of car number 48. It's another
Oh,
going wide.
they're going
Van der Woude
wide.
nearly goes into the back of them, but they make the right move and come out onto the exit road to keep that as safe as possible. Christian Clipper, our resident gator in car number 236, is still going, even having had a few spins earlier, chasing down Sarah Emberson in P14. I have to commend all of the drivers for sticking to it, even in these treacherous conditions. Just because they've spun doesn't mean the race is over for them, as the cars are spinning everywhere. It does look like Sarah Emberson has a slightly better exit coming out onto the final straight, so there's no move to be made here. Rafael Rodriguez is closing in on Philip Beckervold, looking to take that second place from the pole sitter of this race. The gap isn't quite there at the moment, but all three of these drivers having incredible pace. And Beckervold has gone wide, actually. I think Beckervold's tyres may have screamed enough from what was happening earlier on in this race with the much drier track, but they have still got the better exit there, although I'm not sure if track limits were going to be involved at some point there or not.
At this point, I mean, these guys have started on the wet tires since the very start of the race, and at the very start of the race, it was barely raining, so it was a lot of time for these tires to go bald, a lot of these tires to turn into slick wets, so to speak, and that just gives you less grip around these conditions. So it might be about time. It's getting close to the halfway mark. It's about time that these drivers consider a fresh set of wet tires, but at the moment these drivers are managing well. And as I say that, speak of the devil, absolute luck, not having a lucky moment around the final corner.
It does seem like their luck is in name only for this race. Nicolas Zahn has come into the pits, so is serving their pit stop. Van der Woude back up to 10th, but every driver ahead of them has not made a stop, so that is not the position they will be finishing in. As it stands, the driver at the front that has made a pit stop is Alexander Van der Woude. Christian Clipper is the next driver who has made a pit stop. Then we have Sarah Emberson just behind Clipper. Alvaro, oh, that was a move between them, I think. Christian Clipper is looking for that move on Emberson. Emberson is actually getting the run down into turn one. As another driver comes out of the pits, it does look like Clipper is safe going into turn one.
Yeah, Clipper hanging out just fine and going on their merry way to continue to get pace from, I'm not sure if it's a fresh set of wet tires, but to get advantage on their recent pit stop. And as you see this trade here with, I believe that's Adeline Saul and Fury April, or that might be a back marker. I'm pretty sure that's Kagakio, a back marker between Luis Adeline and Fabio Saul, who are within range. I wouldn't say they're fighting right now, but they are within range as Kagakio lets the two of them by in the blue flags. But at the moment, Adeline's still quite far away, but almost in a few minutes time within striking distance of Fabio Saul.
I can definitely see a move happening between them there. Blade Wolf Keiki Kaio making the decision to respect the blue flags quite a bit and just get out the way. I think with the conditions of some of these drivers, they are just looking to survive the race at this point. We see Rodriguez has dropped back again from Beckervold. Beckervold 4.5 seconds away from Kelly. Kelly has checked out as far as we can see for now. KD Fox. We have Adeline chasing Sol still. The gap is closing, so Adeline does still have the pace, getting back as many places as possible after that drive-through penalty.
Yeah, and at the moment, Adeline is on a very phenomenal charge like that on right now to to be at the back of the grid after a drive-through penalty, I believe, and being back up there P8, I gotta commend that. But it's still a long road ahead for Louise Adeline, and she has to make a pit stop as well, as far as I'm aware.
Yes, a lot of all the drivers at the front still have not made a pit stop. Van der Wooden P10 again is the person in first place of the people who have made pit stops. So far, it looks like a lot of the other drivers are extending as long as they can and getting that pit stop in as late as possible. They may still be quite happy with their pace, from what I can see. Robbie Kelly definitely should be happy with their pace. Right now, they are all still running a fair amount of fuel as well, enough to go for quite some distance. They may even be looking for a bit more of a splash and dash to really get that time on the drivers ahead. Beckervold has dropped another half second. That is Beckervold and Rodriguez having come... It does say they're in the pits, but... oh, no. No, that's not them in the pits. I do apologise.
Well, when they're still committing to staying out, so it's gonna be a long road if they want to commit with their first set of wet tires, especially considering the conditions previously. I'm not sure if Alexander Van der Wood picked tires on their pit stop, but they're looking to make ground on the undercut, and they're kind of closing in on these drivers. I think Rotiainen is one of those drivers that's staying out, so they're not. That's not the Delta, but I believe the next driver in condition, I feel like it's still a long way ahead, but only time can tell. This undercut could serve Van der Wolf any better, and at the same time it could also serve them worse, so who knows. We'll have to find out later once these drivers ahead jump the gun.
Compared to a lot of Simufur's events that people maybe have been accustomed to, we do not have a pit window for this. We do expect drivers will need to come in and get their tyres changed and refueled at some point, but they don't have to do it at any specific moment. I don't think in the wet conditions people are able to take the same car that they did from the start to the finish. There will at least be a splash and dash involved. That is car 935 Ruutanainen, unfortunately spinning again and dropping a position. Van der Wood no longer has to worry about them being ahead, although definitely that's a 70-second gap from all the cars that have not pitted yet. Rodriguez and Beckervold are closing in again. It's not going to be enough of a gap to go for a move here, but that chase is still on.
Philip Beckervold still running away from Rafael Rodriguez. They got a back marker ahead of them, and at the moment, Beckervold just keeping it calm right now, because that's the mindset you want to be in amidst these horrendous conditions. You gotta keep your calm and just get your racing line right. Oh, must have been the wind, but yeah, you just gotta keep calm, get your lines right, get your braking points right. Don't do any big mistakes, and just have a clean race, because that will serve you better in these horrendous wet conditions than just trying to push hard, trying to do your best. Because as Sarah once said, you gotta roll in T20 around this track to get these conditions right, and rolling the wrong die, and well, you're gonna die.
Absolutely. Rodriguez is closing that gap again on Beckervold. If they can get a good run through this last corner, that will set them up going down for the start-finish straight, but I do believe that is lap traffic ahead of Beckervold, also giving them a bit of a slipstream. They will be blue flagging them at the moment, but Beckervold would actually prefer if they stayed in place, actually, to get that slipstream. It does cancel out Rodriguez's slipstream, so no moves to be made just yet.
It is a bit quiet at the moment, but these drivers are just at that phase where they're just keeping the pace on and just getting the lap numbers on, because these drivers are committing to the long game. They're going all the way up until their fuel tank runs dry and to get that splash and dash, and that's the optimal strategy. That's the primary strategy you want to be. I mean, we've seen Alexander Van der Wood commit to an aggressive undercut strategy, which we'll see whether it pays off or not in the long run. Because Van der Wood is Van der Wood's in no man's land at the moment, but I think that's kind of where you want to be when it comes to serving the undercut, because you do have the clean air, you do have a lot of room to put the paces on.
Yeah, they'll be looking for as clean a window as they can, so they don't have to worry about the spray from other cars, the dirty air from other cars, or anything of the sort. They can just keep their head down. They've probably had enough excitement for one day, having led the race for quite some distance. The track is still very wet, but hasn't gotten any wetter from when we last checked. Rodriguez is still about a second behind from Beckevold, and Kelly is now 6.5 seconds ahead in the lead. That looks like a battle between Parker Olsen and Blade Wolf Keigikayo. We have seen them clash a couple of times before in the Simufur GT3 series. How do they fare in the LMP2s? I don't know if the move's already been made. I'm not sure if Parker was behind or not, but Blade Wolf at least keeping some distance with them for the time being.
Also doing a very brilliant job to be just keeping Kagekio right behind him in that number 74 TGR LMP2 car. Now, Blade Wolf Kagekio usually is the one defending here, but right now they're in the attacking position, and Parker Olsen, I think they're running away with it right now. They're quite a way ahead of Kagekio.
Yeah, Parker Olsen may have had the pace there, and Blade Wolf may have unfortunately just lost out in defending. There wasn't any move to be made there, as Parker Olsen is already a second and a half ahead. Fury April still having gained quite a lot of spaces. Robbie Kelly is coming up to traffic, but I don't think that will slow them down too much. Although they could use this opportunity to get into the pit, or they could just use it as a free bit of extra slipstream going down the straight before saying thank you for the extra straight line speed. I'm now going to get past under the blue flags. Take every advantage you can get with the lap traffic. The lap traffic can giveth and it can taketh away. It does look like it was a net benefit for Robbie Kelly this time around.
Robbie Kelly, that was Ravenloft.
And the parting gift was a bit of a spin on their own part. That
yeah,
gift
but
wasn't for Robbie
Ravenloft
Kelly,
pointing the right way once again.
It's still fairly quiet here, although Rodriguez is still within a second of Beckevold, looking to keep that in place, keep the pressure on Beckevold, see if Beckevold makes any more mistakes, see if they can capitalize on those. We have seen a few moments of almost every driver making a mistake and going wide. I don't think anyone's really had a perfect race today, maybe except Robbie Kelly.
I would say that might be the case, but remember, we have the likes of Fury April and Adrian Yoon and Fabio Sol, who have come from out of nowhere to just
that's Beckevold off.
That's Beckevold. That's a spin from
That's
Beckevold.
off.
That was Beckevold pointing runway round, pointing again. That's just really unfortunate. And as you mentioned, yeah, not a lot of drivers having good luck, and that is the case for Philip Beckevold. And I feel like it's a spin, just try to get on the traction, just unfortunately pointing the wrong way around.
I don't think there was contact between them and that lap traffic, but it does look like it just got them it forced them off the line, the dry line, enough that they weren't prepared for that loss of grip. They may want to think about coming in and getting their pit stop done at this point to save some face, as we have Eduardo Alvarez chasing Charter. coming through 100 are now the big sweeper. Alvarez looking for a run on the outside to get the inside for the braking zone, and looks like that's exactly what they have done. That was a nice textbook move for them. They have taken that spot. But it's not quite over yet, as they do come, as that is Charter coming back to try and get the move with the slipstream going into the braking point. Not quite there. No, that was done and dusted. Alvarez is up into P17. A good move from them, despite the unfortunate happenings of the race earlier.
Yeah, at the moment, Alvarez trying to come back after such a horrendous race. I mean, having that your rear wing gone, and having to repair that, it's just absolutely horrible. But they're making up ground now, and at the moment, P17, not a bad shout.
That is Akihara off as well there. Unfortunately, thankfully, they haven't had their rear wing deleted and a new one duct taped on, so they should be able to continue. They have made their pit stop as well, so if they're happy that those tyres aren't giving them a free massage going down the start-finish straight, they may be able to just keep going. Rafael Rodriguez now 9.5 seconds after getting past Beckevold with that incident. From Beckevold now having, well, they'll now be able to see if they can get any pace on Robbie Kelly. There is 27 minutes to go. Rodriguez has been setting fast laps. If they think they can get it done, there could be a very small chance on them getting there. Last laps, Robbie Kelly was a tenth faster. We'll see if that can come down. Oh, that's the best lap. I do apologize. That's the best lap.
Yeah, Robbie Kelly at the moment, 8 seconds down the road. So if Rodriguez wants to fight for this win, they got a lot of ground to cover. It's going to be really tough for the Crazy K9 car, but at the moment they're quite a ways ahead of Beckevold as well. So at the moment our leaders are in no man's land each, and just going on with their merry way, as we see Katie Fox there getting back on track after a spinner.
Another unfortunate spin from Katie Fox. I have noticed with these Crazy K9 cars, Simufur's newest team, we seem to be getting some more teams in Simufur now, which is great to see. I've noticed it looks like they're using graffiti on the shark fins as part of their livery design, almost like they sprayed it on as a thing. It looks like a nice touch if that is what they're going for.
I mean, I think from what I remember from the media trailers, it looked kind of like Need for Speed Most Wanted-esque. I'm not good with my Need for Speed, but that's what I think it looks like. So it's kind of like, yeah, a street vibe to it, and that's what I like with these liveries.
So they're going for the Most Wanted vibe, much like the old Ridge Racers project team was going for the R4 style. But anyway, getting back to what we should be talking about, the race, Absolute Luck is off again there, unfortunately, but keeping themselves in one piece, letting cars lap them through. That was not for position, I don't think.
Yeah, at the moment, the grid is just very quiet right now because we're still waiting for everyone to make a pit stop, and at the moment it just doesn't look like anyone is jumping the gun yet. Everyone committing to the going long strategy and just making the most out of their first set of tires, or going for the splash and dash, and that's just a brave strategy from all of these guys in general, because you really gotta commit to saving and conservation and just to make that strategy work.
Absolutely. As we see Fury April making their run at the moment, it looks like they are one of the winners of this race in terms of having gained so many positions. I can see that they have gained 11 positions since the start of the race. Fabio Soul has gained 17 positions, though, from the start of the race as well. So they've done an incredibly good job of keeping themselves in contention and up into the top places. I do believe it is only the top 9 at the moment who are on the lead lap.
Yeah, we've been racing for so long. We were starting to get some back marker traffic, and yeah, these guys are inevitably going to be lapped. As we see, oh, another unfortunate spin from Chris Clippert, who is just getting back on track, and that's just a really tough campaign for Clipper tonight. As you can see what happened here, it might have been a spin. Yep, car pointing the wrong way. Tried to get it pointing the right way. A little bit tapping the wall, but they go back on track. They in fact go wide in the final corner.
They may be struggling with some damage to their car now. They do still have their rear wing. It does look like an LMU. The damage model is basically decided by, do you still have your rear wing or not? Clippert does still have his rear wing, so he should still be able to keep the car running for now, as we see two of the TGR cars coming into the first corner at around the same time. I do believe that's Adrian Newt behind. They may not be actually a TGR driver. Their livery just looked fairly similar to me for a moment with the white run. Didn't he join TGR?
Adrian Newt is in fact a TGR driver, but yeah, they do have a pretty unique colored blue and red TGR car, and I just received information that Luis Adeline has retired due to a technical net related issue from what what I'm seeing. So she's been fighting for so long, but unfortunately having to resort to retiring because of a net issue, and that is Christian Clifford almost resafing unjointly, and yeah, that's just a really horrible day for Chris Clifford. I think this is a race to forget for them, and it's just hard to watch.
That is incredibly frustrating, and that does look like our fourth retirement from the race. So unfortunately, we've lost Sos Dragon, Fez Fox, Louise Adeline due to a technical issue. We could call it an engine failure of the car, perhaps. And Christian Clipper, unfortunately, having the car in a state that they could just not get it back to the pits for any fixes. Fabio Sul here is still in P7, having gained those 11 places. Beckervold is 16.6 behind the leader and is looking to get anything they can. That is another car off as well. So many cars spinning today. It is okay. We do expect to see some pit stops now. A lot of cars are now on low fuel, so those drivers that have committed to staying out, they will be coming in at this point. And with only 20 minutes to go, I would expect that they will just be coming in for fuel to really extend that gap they have on the other drivers that may have had to get their new tyres done.
I mean, at this point, it's pretty much a splash and dash strategy for those who are staying out all the way, because I mean, pitting for new tires at this point, I'm not sure if it's worth it, especially in these conditions. They have worked so hard to keep these tires up to code, up to the optimal conditions. As you see, Philip Beckervold, I assume they are diving into pit lane. In fact, they are absolutely diving into pit lane as the number 9 slows down carefully into pit road. 60 kilometers an hour is the top speed limit here as Beckervold comes into their pit box to serve their, what I believe is a splash and dash.
Yeah, they'll be looking for as short of a pit stop as possible. With the incident we saw earlier, we don't know if Van der Wood will be able to get back ahead of them. Van der Wood at this point was the lead pitting driver. Sarah Van Fiepland is coming in as well. This is going to be a situation where a lot of cars are making their pit stops, as those fuel tanks could not last forever. Beckervold definitely looks like it was just a fuel stop for them, as they are coming out of the pits now. Can't see where Van der Woode is at the moment. We don't know if that'll be a gain for them, but as we can see Beckervold coming out the pit lane now, I think that is safe for them. Fury April has also come into the pits on this lap. Newt is also into the pits. And yes, it does look like Beckervold was able to stay ahead of Van der Wood. Van der Wood is in 5th position. And with Saul and Kelly yet to pit, I do expect Van der Woode is going to be P4 on aggregate.
I'm not sure if Rodriguez pit as well, but it could be a podium for Vanderwood, but at the moment, it's just too close to tell. I mean, it's just these times are really close. I see Rafael Rodriguez coming into the pit lane for their splash and dash, presumably. So a lot of the leaders already jumping the gun and just trying to stay ahead of position, especially during their splash and dash. This could be Alexander Vanderwood's moment to shine to try and make that undercut work, but at the moment it's really close. It's really hard to tell.
Yeah, the gap is indeterminate at this point. Vanderwood is coming through the final sector, through those last few corners. That looks like he is going to be stuck a little bit by lap traffic as well, though. No real good place for them to come out. We can see some of the cars in the pit at the moment. Rodriguez still in the pits, but Vanderwood is 9 seconds back from Saul. That is Sarah Emberson having unfortunately spun again, just about looking to get that back out. Okay, Vanderwood has the slipstream on the lapped car ahead. I think that might be Parker. That is Parker Olsen just ahead of them right here. They are both on the TGR team, so I can imagine that this won't be too painful for Vanderwood to deal with. But Rodriguez has come out ahead, and I do think that is still Vanderwood staying in overall P4 once Saul makes their pit stop.
Now the final moment. That's Robbie Kelly jumping into pit lane from my cameras. There is Robbie Kelly going in for their splash and dash. This is going to be absolutely crucial, especially in their fight with Beckevold and Rodriguez. Can Robbie Kelly stay out ahead? This is going to be very important. This pit stop they've currently finished their refueling, so it's just a matter of coming out of pit lane and seeing if they come out ahead of Rodriguez and Beckevold. But it's going to be really close. I think Rodriguez and Beckevold are still far away, so I think Robbie Kelly's got this done.
Robbie Kelly absolutely had the gap this entire time. There was no doubt Robbie Kelly was going to be coming out in first. Vanderwood has overtaken Fabio Saul on track. I don't think Fabio Saul has taken their pit stop yet, so that is Vanderwood definitely back into P4. Saul has not taken their pit stop yet, that is confirmed. Only a few cars that haven't made any pit stops at this point. That is Fabio Saul, that is Phil Rank, and that is it, actually. That is it. There's only 2 cars, and that is Fabio Saul coming in to take their pit stop now. So with Fabio Saul and soon Phil Rank coming in to get their splash and dashes done, changing tyres for the last 15 minutes probably isn't worth their while. We look to see if anything will occur in the final 15 minutes of this race.
Robbie Kelly at the moment looks like he's got this in the bag, but at the moment, knock on wood, Robbie Kelly still has 15 minutes to go to keep up the pace, to keep up that 17-second gap off of Rafael Rodriguez and Beckevold, who is 7 seconds down the road. So our leaders quite separated at the moment as we see Ropi Rautiainen fighting with Katie Fox.
Another slight issue, another slight potential incident there. Phil Rank is now coming in to take their pit stop, so that is everybody taking their pit stops. Car 24 is off. That is Charter, unfortunately, dropping another place to Sarah Emberson. In that situation, we now have Katie Fox and Rautiainen racing each other. I do believe these are both TIG Gang cars as well, racing each other, so they should keep it fairly... They should keep it fairly clean between each other. Another car behind them, but nowhere near to get a slipstream. Katie Fox will get an advantage of some slipstream coming down here, but as we've seen with gaps of this size before, there won't be any move to be made just yet. Robbie Kelly being about 17 seconds ahead. They definitely wouldn't have needed to change tyres. They can nurse those tyres. They can drop time right up until the end. At this point, they have got this race sealed.
Yeah, at the moment it's Rautiainen. I mean, it was a tough day for Rautiainen, but they're at the end of the day, at the moment, they're holding on to top 10, and that's a pretty commendable act, all things considered.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely holding on to that position for now, holding on to P10. Katie Fox will be looking to try and get that move to get the P10. I do think that's Phil Rank behind. No, that's not Phil Rank behind them. That is a car on another lap. So the biggest winners again, now all the pit stops have been made. The biggest winners still are Fury April in 7th, who started in 17th, and Fabio Sul, who started in 24th and is now in P8.
Yeah, a lot of drivers making up a lot of ground, taking advantage of all the chaos, and as you see, the likes of Newt, April, and Saul just minding their own business, just doing their own, just driving their own race, and that pays dividends. As we can see, they're all in the top 10.
Katie Fox, unfortunately, having an incident there. That seems to have dropped them quite a bit off of Ruutanainen. We will see. It was.
Yeah, it was a spin.
That could have been that could have been a little bit of net code potentially there with the distance between them, but it was probably just another spin through those corners. Those corners and around this track, then the second half of the circuit seemed to be taking no prisoners, especially in these conditions. The track is still as wet as it was a while ago. It hasn't got any wetter, but driving in these conditions for this long, people are suffering from the effects.
As you
Demonstrated,
see,
unfortunately, right in front of us, as Sarah Amberson does make another spin.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing with these cars is that they have quite a limited steering angle, so they're just gonna have to Austin Powers their way until they point the right way on track. But as you see, Robbie Kelly here with a commanding lead, about 18 seconds ahead of Rafael Rodriguez, just keeping it clean, just setting their marks and just continuing on with their race. And at the moment, Robbie Kelly looking solid for, I would say, the 70 minutes that we have. We still have almost about 10 minutes to go in this race.
11 minutes to go. Robbie Kelly didn't need to be setting any more pace at this point. He has proved his point. However, he is still pulling away from Rafael Rodriguez in second place. Now 19 seconds ahead in the lead. At this point, he may be looking at that and saying, oh, let's see if I can make it 20 seconds. Let's see if I can make it 25 seconds. It has just been made 20 seconds, looking by the live timing. We'll see how big of a gap he can make it at the end. There aren't any bonus points, but there is still bragging rights.
Absolutely, Robbie Kelly putting on a strong performance, especially starting from 5th on the grid and just proving their point where it counts. That's what I want to say, because qualifying, that was very unpredictable, but in the race, they are proving themselves in these conditions. As you see, Absolute Luck, who I believe is chasing, or I think he got lapped by another driver. I think because they're quite a way ahead of Ember, so this could be a unlapped car. But at the moment, I think Absolute Luck has the bragging rights for setting the fastest lap of this race in these drier conditions. So I think that's something they can take away.
Will be for position at this point. I think the closest gap we have on track right now is between Saul and Zan, who did put on a very nice race for us earlier, but Saul really has been doing wonders, having gained that many positions, and I don't think he'll be losing any at this point.
Yeah, I don't think I can count on that yet, because Nicholas Zahn still kind of within striking distance. I wouldn't say absolutely in striking distance, but Saul is there just in case. Zahn is there just in case Saul makes a tiny mistake, and they could pounce on the Inter-Europol LMP2 car over there.
Absolutely. We got Fabio Saul coming out this corner here. Absolute Luck isn't racing for position, but does still seem to have some good pace here. This may just be to unlap themselves. If anything, it is the closest action we have on the field right now. We have 9 minutes of the race remaining. That will be at the most 5 laps, I would assume. And Absolute Luck is holding on to the back of Fabio Saul here, so they do still have the pace. It was just that their name was only Absolute in terms of the race.
Yeah, and Robbie Kelly, I do want to point out, came in with a considerably minimal amount of fuel compared to the likes of Rodriguez and Beckerville. They're actually on 14%, while the two behind are on 25%. So I feel like Robbie Kelly making some very strong risk right now, but it's going to be very risky, especially considering the fuel numbers. I'm not sure whose fuel numbers are right, but I kind of trust Kelly. They're just making big risk with what they're doing right now, and in worst case, I think they just have to lift and coast. They have a 20-second gap ahead of them, as we see Wolf and Ravenov having a spin.
Yeah, Robbie Kelly very much min-maxing the strategy if they do have enough fuel to make it to the end. I generally don't fall into that myself. I probably would have taken the extra bit of fuel, knowing then to just not have that anxiety of having to worry about it. At the end, the track is definitely drying up, so times may get faster. Absolute luck may have their time taken at this point, as the track is getting drier. Someone else could still come in and take that fastest time, although looking at the sector times from the pace setter of Robbie Kelly right now, that still might not happen just yet.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would go for a fastest lap in these conditions because they're still pretty wet. So at the end of the day, I feel like Absolute Luck still has a fighting chance to hold on to their fastest lap record, but
it looks like there's been an incident between Zahn and Sul. I did speak too soon. Sul does seem to have actually dropped a place to Zahn there. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but definitely some sort of incident, as they dropped a lot of time very quickly. I think that's Robbie Kelly coming through ahead on Sul as well at this point.
Yeah, Fabio Sol just got lapped by Robbie Kelly, and next down the road is actually Nicholas Zahn. So I believe that's the top 7, all within a lap of each other.
The top 7 drivers being ahead on the lap at the moment, although Sul has just been lapped, so that's now Sul off of the lead lap. If they're happy with their position, since they have still gained so many from where they started, it does give them a sigh of relief, as they only have to complete one less lap at this point. Robbie Kelly 23 seconds ahead of Rodriguez at this point. They may be going for 25 seconds to match their number 25 race number. Robbie Kelly still setting the pace. Philip Beckervold in 3rd position. 5.5 seconds ahead of Rodriguez. That does look like it's been another slight incident from Charter, losing a position to Sarah Emberson. Rodriguez in 2nd. Sarah in 17th. Yeah, with 5 minutes remaining of the race, there is not too much to be watching right now, so we'll see how well the drivers can handle this last 5 minutes, with the track getting drier and the pace coming down in time a little bit more. Rodriguez maybe dropping it down to about 21 seconds on the gap there. Nothing's going to be happening in those last 4 minutes, but
I do want to point out though, Robbie Kelly's fuel numbers, they are absolutely pushing the risk right now, because they are 8.6%. It's gonna be really close for Robbie Kelly, but at the end of the day, worst case scenario, they have to either splash and dash or just lift and coast. But at the moment, I don't think Robbie Kelly is lifting and coasting at all. They're absolutely pushing, so they think their fuel numbers are right, and let's find out about that.
Yeah, we just hit 4 minutes to go, so that will be 3 laps remaining for Robbie Kelly. We'll have to look at their fuel load. They've just dropped below 8% fuel. If they cross the line with 6% fuel left, I think they'll be safe, but it will be close. And they'll be kicking, I think they'll definitely be kicking themselves if they have just slightly misjudged that. Felzetta coming off the track slightly just there, but continuing to run. They are the last of the finishers. I do believe Louise Adeline and Nuttigen will be classified as they have completed enough of the distance. But relatively quiet action on the track for now as everybody's just trying to make it to the end.
My eyes are still on Robbie Kelly because I still feel nervous about those fuel numbers. I'm not sure if it's worth it, but at the moment, Robbie Kelly in my cameras, they're crossing the line right now with it's really close. It's 5.9%, so they're really playing the risks here in this game. I'm not sure if Robbie Kelly might have enough fuel. It's gonna be so close.
Alvarez has also got very low fuel at the moment, down in P14, slightly lower stakes for them, but they might have to come in and get an extra litre or two of fuel just to make it to the end at this point. We will have to see 2 minutes 20 remaining, so I do think Robbie Kelly will just make it to the end, but if this were Formula 1, they'd have the same situation Sebastian Vettel had at Hungaroring in 2021, where they'd get disqualified because they don't have enough fuel left in the car.
I will be entertained if I see Robbie Kelly sputtering across the start fishing, trying to Flintstone their car, but these fuel numbers are just getting uncomfortable the more he's driving. But I believe that Robbie Kelly is about to approach their final lap, and I'm not sure how much percent of fuel per lap, but it's pretty close. I think Robbie Kelly just has this in the bag.
Yeah, I'm looking at that fuel percentage, and I think Robbie Kelly has just absolutely min-maxed the fuel. They may have done a full fuel run in the past and figured out the numbers and figured that is exactly the number I need. Crossing the line of 3%. This is the final lap of the race. Robbie Kelly is close to that 25-second gap I predicted he might have been aiming for. With that 3% of fuel remaining, though, 3.1% of fuel remaining, they will get to the end. Just about all they need to do is just nurse it through these final few corners. They could even stop and do a 360 if they wanted, like Max Verstappen, and still get that win.
I mean, you could do that, but at the moment, I don't think playing any risks is gonna be ideal, because especially in the final lap, you don't want to be doing any risk, as we see.
Alvarez only has 1% of fuel remaining. They are going to be losing out. They are diving into the pits now to use that 1% of fuel just to get it around. As we see Robbie Kelly coming through the last few corners.
1.6.
That is actually less than I expected, so there is still a very small chance that Robbie Kelly might not make. I think they've got it. I think they've just about got it. But we'll see them come through the last couple of corners now. It might sputter coming across the line. They have 1.4% of their fuel remaining. It is just about enough to get them across the line. Be thankful it's not Formula 1. Robbie Kelly is going to come and cross the line. 4 places up in the race, and they have taken their second win of the series.
I do want to say Robbie Kelly crossed the line with 0.8% of fuel remaining, so they have absolutely nailed it on the head. That was a risk worth taking, to be underfueling that car and just keeping it close to the numbers. And I do want to say Robbie Kelly would think that the last race was so nice they had to win it twice.
Rafael Rodriguez holding their second place from the start in the end, crossing the line in second. Philip Beckervold is next across the line. They did unfortunately lose their pole, but still on the podium. Alexander van der Woede will be next across the line. They got an amazing lead at the start, but it wasn't to be. 4th place for them. Sarah van Fietland will be in 5th position, provided they get through the last corner okay. They have done so, crossing the line with a less precarious amount of fuel than Robbie Kelly did. That is P5 for Sarah Van Fiepland. Newt will be next across the line in P6. They had a few incidents during the race, but still a strong result for them, given the circumstances, and seeing them dash across the line like that, they do seem fairly happy with it. Fury April having done an incredible performance, starting in P17. They're flashing their lights as well. They seem happy with that, although that definitely looks like a bit of netcode, but just at the right time, because they can still cross the line and finish that 7th position. Nicholas Zahn has also crossed the line, and it does look like most other people not on the lead lap have crossed the line and are already in the pit. Well, we did have some quiet moments, still a race of a lot of action, a race of survival for drivers in these LMP2s in these wet conditions. How did you find it, Suzuka?
I mean, the action was not as much as I expected, but there was still quite some action. I mean, Robbie Kelly calculating that fuel really closely, and we still had a bit of drama. We had the incidents, we had a bunch of retirements, but at the end of the day, this was just some brilliant racing, a brilliant showcase from our drivers.
Absolutely, everyone doing the best job they can. So looking at the final results here, you can see the winner, Robbie Kelly, in 2nd place. 19.9 in the end. There was probably a little bit of lift and coasting right at the end. Rafael Rodriguez just under 20 seconds behind in the end. Philip Beckervold 3.2 behind in 3rd place there. Alexander van der Woede didn't quite get the podium the 2nd time running, but is still an incredibly strong P4. Sarah Van Fiepland P5. Adrian Newton P6. Fury April, probably one of the biggest gainers alongside Fabio Saul, finishing in P7. P8 Nicholas Zahn, and P9 that aforementioned Fabio Saul. In 10th position, right at the end, is Roop Rautanainen, and in 11th, Katie Fox. 12th, Phil Rank, one of the last people to pit. Parker Olsen takes 13th. 14th, Blade Wolf Keiki Kayo. In 15th is Eduardo Alvarez. 16th, Zul Alcara. 17th, Sarah Emberson. In 18th is Sea Charter. 19th, Absolute Luck. 20th is Michael Ravenloft. 21st, Danielle Falzetta. And unfortunately, these drivers did not finish in the end, but 22nd is Christian Clippert. 23rd, Louise Adeline. 24th, Denny Smellface. 25th, Fez Fox. 26th, Sos Dragon. And 27th, Proto Nutogen. Those were the final results for today's round. We aren't taking a break next week, so do tune in next week for some more LMP2 action. I've been Azure Go, and it's been a pleasure to commentate for you today. And here is Suzuka.
Well, see ya. That was a brilliant racing, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week in Catalonia.
Once again, also a big thank you to Maurer for running today's broadcast for everybody as well. Do stick around for next week's round. Well done to all of our drivers today. And once again, if you do like what you see and you want to get involved in sim racing, do come join us in Simufur. Thank you.
Goodbye.